Right, so I'm going to teach you now how to finish this off. So I'm going to open up the zip and I'm going to unfold the seam allowance. I'm going to work on one seam allowance at a time, so I'm just going to take that one out of the equation. But I want to make sure that I've unfolded the original seam allowance. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to fold this on top of each other and we're going to stitch that down. But the problem that we have is if we don't move this top bit out of the way before we do it, there's a really good chance that you'll accidentally sew the tab into position and it will interfere with the coils. So we need to very gently just fold this at a 45-degree angle towards the edge of your seam allowance, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the facing right side to right side. I'm going to make absolutely sure that the stitching line of the facing is at the top, because that's where it will be folded. I might even just give that a little press as I'm here. And then I'm going to place a pin. Okay. So that sits like that. And this edge is aligned and the pin is there. And what we're going to do is we're going to run a stitching line roughly about the same distance away as your stitching line on your zip, and we're going to go from the top down to the bottom of your facing. So I'll go and do that now and I'll show you the result. Right, so that's been stitched all the way down, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim some of this excess out of the equation now. Okay, and then we can snip right the way, cornering off that area, and trimming it all the way down, so that when you turn this over to the right side, what you have is a very beautiful finish to this zip and facing. Okay, so that's method one, and to be honest, that is my preferred method. There is an alternative method, and again, you have your zip open and you are working with just your seam allowance. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take, if you look at the layers of this, we've got our tab, we've got the facing, and then we've got the seam allowance of the facing. So what we're going to do is we're going to snip just that facing bit, not the seam allowance, but just the facing bit. We're going to finish the snip just before this seam allowance edge. And the idea is that you're able to tuck in the excess tab between the facing and the seam allowance. I might actually just snip that ever so slightly more, just to give myself a bit of a head start. There we go. And then we do exactly as we did before. We fold it over and we place a pin in it and we stitch from the edge all the way to the edge. So I'll go and do that and I'll show you the result. That's now been stitched, and like before, I'm going to take the corner off this and trim some of the excess away, and you have got another very neat finish to your zip. So if I turn this one through, there we go, you'll be able to see that is finished off really neatly. Just going to give that a little press and then I'll zip that up, and that is how you finish off your facings when you've got a zip.